The wheels turning. Look at that, Ray. We're back. We're live on a Tuesday night.
Tuesday Night Lights, yep.
It's been a couple of weeks. We took a little time off. We both had things going on, and we're back, and I'm excited because we got a pretty cool guest tonight. But
yeah, lots of history, lots of years in the saddle, and lots of buckles. There's probably not too many other outriders that have been up on stage, as much as this guy. So it's good.
No, it's going to be fun. Well, it's that time of the night as we thank LimeLite Audio and Media along with Cinch Oilfield Hauling. I know that I guarantee you they're watching tonight. There's nothing else going on, so the boys at Cinch are watching, guaranteed.
Cinch has been rocking too, by the way. They've been flat out. So
well, that's a good thing.
Here last week, and he's been in the truck and trying to keep up, and all the boys have been just giving her. So
wow,
the patch is back. The patch is back, baby.
The patch is back. Well, it's that time of the night. My favorite time of night, if you will. Look at that. Story time with Ray, brought to you by Highwood Distillers. Are we gonna have a story time? We're just gonna catch up for a minute.
I think we should catch up because we've been a little bit behind the eight ball here, and some big races have wrapped up, and circuits have crowned their champion, and so we missed Lloyd finals, but I was there all weekend, and I started a job just halfway into Lloyd, and ended up raining out, so I got to go to most of the races there.
Well, now, am I right or wrong? Did you outride there a little?
I did, yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of young fellers that were making some mistakes here and there, so I was asked to jump on for the last 3 nights, and I did so, and I enjoyed it. I didn't mean to steal your job, but sometimes you get fired, so that's what happens.
Exactly. And of course, the WPCA has been going strong. They were, up in your neck of the woods, up in Bonnyville area.
Yeah. They went to Bonnyville, and then there's a few guys that decided to turn out after Bonnyville, and then some that just took the weekend off, and they opted out of going to Dawson Creek, and then from Dawson Creek they went down to Rocky Mountain House here last weekend, and then they had a weekend off, and now they're just, as we speak, are rolling into Ponoka for their 4-day show and PBR. They kind of threw this show together here, I was going to say late July, and started promoting it and trying to get some people out and have some fun. So the World Finals are going to be in Ponoka for the first time ever. Well,
it's, you know what? I don't know that I've ever watched a bad Chuckwagon race in Ponoka, so I'm going to try and go up one night, see what happens.
Yeah, like Ponoka, if you love wagons and love cowboys and rodeo and whatever else, that it's packed, and hopefully that the farmers and the people take some time to go in there and get some entertainment. I know harvest is on and stuff like that, but it's the best venue, best grandstands, best sound system. Everybody's up to par and just rocking. So it's one of my favorites without a doubt.
Well, let's go to a guy now that has ridden 122 more outriding horses than anyone else in Ponoka. Say hi to Eddie Melville.
Hey, Ed.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
Oh, I learned some interesting facts. Now, just so everyone understands, we meet for a couple minutes beforehand. We BS, we catch up, we tell lies, we tell stories. But I found out that Ray and Ed both share a birthday with someone way more important than them. Secretariat.
Yeah, Secretariat. And like Ed said prior to the show, we're exactly 10 years apart, and we're both still outriding.
I'm on the long end of that 10 years. I got a picture of Secretariat winning the Belmont right over here.
Shit, Ray doesn't look near 10 years older than you, more like 15, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, Eddie, I don't know of anyone that I guess has had such a lengthy outriding career as you have. And, talking to Ray over the past few weeks when he's been outriding, man, is it hard on your body or what keeps you going?
Well, yeah, it's been hard on the body for sure. They used to bug me all the time. If there was a wreck, I was right in the middle of it, no matter where it was. But I don't know. feel pretty good. Had a few surgeries and stuff over the years, but if you haven't, you probably haven't been around that long. So I've enjoyed it. And I'm trying to. It's tough. It's a tough sport to stay away from. Ask Ray. He tried to retire, and that didn't work with a shit for him either. So
no, yeah, it's I know that adrenaline fix and just the speed and the horses. I miss the horses the most, I think, at anything. But
yeah,
and still that confidence you get from knowing you can do it, and kind of made me feel a little bit younger and made me realize that maybe I should have been riding some more of my own horses in the mornings and making sure they were fit and ready and working good for the guys. And so if they did have trouble, I could say, well, I was on them, or I broke them, and I know what they do, right? So it's and there's a camaraderie when you get back in the with the outriders, and a lot of them are pretty young compared to me, especially around Lloydminster in the finals there. But there's a handful of them that still call me Little Ray. Well, I'm about 20 years older than you, so
yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Now, I just need to know, as you progress, obviously, Eddie, you have outrode for, it's got to be almost 30 years.
30 this year, yeah.
30 this year.
Yeah.
What's the biggest change you've seen in outriding in those 30 years?
Oh, I don't think, it hasn't changed a whole pile as far as what you do. I guess there's no tent pegs, so that's too bad, because it used to be, you'd have a 3-man team behind, and you would, you had some camaraderie with those guys, and sometimes you'd stick a new horse back there with 2 others, and you'd kind of break them that way. I think we were famous for doing that in Ponoka. And there was a lot of horses worked way better at a 4 outrider show than they do, by themselves back there, I think. Yeah. So you're excited to get to Ponoka, get throwing pegs, get the crew going behind, and probably a lot more camaraderie back then, because you had to have 4 guys working together along with the driver and horses, and you had to manage the barn a lot different. So I would say that's different. But as far as, you still have to jump on there and get on out of there clean. And I suppose now the race itself isn't quite as big a deal as it used to be, because you got that, when we were riding, it was 125 feet. Then I think they bumped it up, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago to 150. Now it's 200. And that makes a hell of a difference. There was a lot of times where you did everything right and you'd get outrun. If a guy made a big run and you're in traffic trouble at a 4-rider show, I mean, you had to really plot your race and, pull your whip and save ground and give your horse so the race itself actually was a lot more strategy. Now, because you might be 126 feet behind and rode a good race and you're still late.
Yeah.
Now you can totally space your race out. You don't need necessarily all that good of a horse anymore to catch a good outfit, because it's 200 feet. Yeah. So I think that's probably the difference. But as far as, getting out of there and getting on and keeping the barrel standing and stuff, nothing's really changed, I don't think.
Yeah, I think maybe the speed of the race is increased, but like giving you that extra 75 feet, that's quite a bit of room, right? So, I'm not going to argue with him. He's totally right. It's a little bit easier.
Now, when we look at things, Eddie, probably one of the toughest things that happens as an outrider is you get fired. And I'm sure over your years you've been fired by more drivers than. Yeah, you've been fired by everyone, I'm sure. Did Ray ever fire you?
Absolutely, he did. He fired me a couple times.
What an asshole!
No, I had it coming. I mean, you don't get fired usually if you're penalty free. I got her one time in Ponoka when it rained for about 4 days. I remember it rained so hard the one night you couldn't even tell which wagon you're out riding for, and I forget what happened there, but I was gone. And then I got fired once in Calgary for one night, and then the redraw came and he brought me back. So that was more because we had a tough go at the lead team. We were on the 4-barrel, and Ray, I guess I didn't have him over far enough towards the stage. You like to do a roundhouse on that 4-barrel, and he clipped the bottom barrel leaving, and I think Ray was mad that night. And anyways, he fired me, and 2 nights later I'm back on, but I'm throwing barrel peg. So there you go. We're back on. So.
I don't even remember that, so I'm sorry. I guess.
I don't know if it was you that fired me or the ex-wife, but one of you fired me. Anyways, it was gone for one day. So.
Yeah. You had to be careful.
You got a holiday.
Right there. Yeah.
No. But anyways, no, I've been hired and fired, and it was part of the game. You hated it, but I always, my philosophy on that was, if I made a mistake, I always went and talked to the driver. If I screwed up, I told him I screwed up, and I like to get out in front of it. Did that my whole career. I'll take my ass chewing if I got it coming, and then at least next morning, if I'm having breakfast somewhere and I run into the guy, at least I faced him. And if you don't lie to him and you don't bullshit him and you don't make a bunch of excuses, they'll probably end up bringing you back. And I lived by that my whole career. I was never one of them guys that, I like to get in front of it.
Yeah. No, that's good strategy. And there's longevity to that. Who was the first one you won the Calgary Stampede with?
I never won it till my 15th year. And I was with Luke Tournier in 2005. Yeah. I had some close calls before that. Never pulled the 1-barrel until I think my 11th time or something in that final heat. And we actually had the 2-barrel that year. I still hadn't pulled the 1-barrel all those years. And
I remember Luke's outfit he had that year. They couldn't be touched, that whole Stampede.
Oh, they were incredible.
Yeah.
And
was the right leader's name Smoothie or something?
Yeah, it was Port was the lefty and Smoothie was the righty. And his wheel team where it was
if you guys,
Jag and Cajun. And
there's a big left wheeler, but the left leader, Port, he was a big bay horse with a big blaze on him, and that horse was known for his whole career. Everybody knew that horse. So
yeah, that was Port. That was the left leader. He come out of Phoenix, and none of those horses did much on the racetrack. But Luke had him just firing like nothing I'd ever seen before. And then 2 years later, when he won it, there was only one horse different. That was the left wheeler. He had a horse named Max, and I think he won 4 day monies of his first 5 races ever that he run in. He never cracked him out till Lethbridge. But Luke was just a phenomenal horseman, and those horses had literally trod into the barrels just like an old parade team. And I swear to God, he had Walkmans hooked up to their ears. I don't know, because as soon as that horn went, I was holding leaders, and you just pretty much had to get out of the way. And man, they were gone. I've never seen an outfit that good. What I remember about that, Ray, tell a little funny story, is they used to draw out of a hat, as you know, for the barrel draw for that final heat. And all those years never got, I don't know, we pulled 4 just about every time, and maybe 3, and never got the 1. So I'm on the chute, and the guys are just walking up on stage, and I said, I can't watch this. I'm bad luck. So I went running to go somewhere where I couldn't hear nothing. And all I could find, I ran in the back 40 there, was an ambulance, and there's 2 paramedics just out front talking, waiting for the races to start. And I went and jumped in the passenger side, and they put both fingers in my ears so I couldn't hear what was going on, and waited in there. They look, and I just kind of waved at them, how you doing? And then I came out, and I still didn't know what barrel we had when I went walking back. And they said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I just wanted to see what it was like to sit in the front of one of these things." And then kind of went back and found out we got the 2-barrel. So I was happy with that. Yeah. And then
who was on 1 that year?
Kelly.
Kelly
drew the 1. A lot of people were thinking, "Oh, that's bad luck. You got Kelly Sutherland inside of you." I said, "No, we were hooked with Kelly the last 5 nights that year." and Luke outturned him every time. So
Yeah.
I was actually quite happy to have. You never know what Kelly's going to do. I mean, he can show up, and steal the whole show. He's done it so many times. But when we got in front of him, oh, it was incredible. And I remember Kelly going up to Luke and saying the right guy won it. So that was pretty cool too.
Now,
so just to touch on, how many times have you won the Calgary Stampede? Because it
4.
kind of rained after that for you.
Well, yeah, I got lucky. The next year, I thought we had a one with Neil Walzenbaugh, but he got a 2-second starting ahead of the horn penalty, and Neil won the race by a second and 2/100. So lost it that year. And then we won it again with Luke in 07, and then got lucky and won it with Chad Harden in 09, and then won the 100th with Troy Dorchester in 012. So I'm glad I didn't retire when I was 30, because everything seemed to happen after I turned 30. It was actually, in there a lot of years.
Huey Sinclair told me you don't start winning until you're 15 years in, and that's basically when you started making it rain, right? So that's good. That was
05 was the year that everything clicked for me. That was my best year that I ever had. Had the best outfits on the track that year. I think we won 9 shows that year. Like, just lucky, just along for the ride, and and with that, your confidence grows. And it was the best year that I ever rode, probably, and had the most success. So that year was pretty special for me.
Is there a race on the tour? Or, obviously there's some race meets that come and go. Is there any one race that you haven't won yet?
Oh yeah, I never rode for Ray Croteau and Drumheller. So if you wanted to win Drumheller, you had to ride for Ray. How many times did you win that thing? 3 in a row, or 3 or 4 times?
I think 4.
Yeah. So it
was a little bull ring, and a lot of the big dogs weren't hooking all their best horses, but for whatever reason, every year I got there, mine were clicking, and they were only about a month behind when they should have been, but whatever.
Well, I'm pretty sure he'd trade you a Badlands Derby buckle for a Calgary buckle, like, all day long. If you wanted
well, I wanted to win Drumheller because my dad's from Drumheller. And, that was probably the only meet that my dad, when he was still around, came to.
Yeah.
And so it would have been nice. That was a pretty cool little setting with the sunken racetrack and the Badlands and everything.
Yeah, there wasn't a more picturesque place to race than that Drumheller. And I actually,
when you're driving in and you're looking down on that track, that was pretty cool there. I thought. Yeah.
We went through there this summer on the way to Strathmore, and I made a point of whipping in and showing Ashley and the kids the racetrack there, and just kind of the view and where we parked and everything. It's still all there.
Yeah. And then I never had much luck in Edmonton. We were winning it one year with Huey Sinclair. It was it poured rain, and we're coming down the lane, and Huey's in front by about 2 full wagon lengths, and we're going to win that. Herman Fladd was last the whole race. And on the 3rd and 4th turn, he went out to the outside rail. And I remember looking, and I thought it was another outrider to my inside, and here it was Herman's lead team. So I moved out, and he just kept coming out. And he found a hard pan there. It was just like he hooked another horse. He went down that lane and on the outside fence and ran right by Huey, who had probably a 2.5, 3 length lead on him at the head of the lane, and just found that hard pan and went scooting by. Won day money, won the show. I remember going into Herman's barn after. He just covered in mud, and I said, "You cagey old bugger." I thought we had her won. Yeah. So that was probably the only real good chance I had in Edmonton.
And, there's something else I want to touch on, because I think it's pretty important. When I talk to Ray and even listening to you guys know all the horses. I want to touch on the Equine Award of Excellence, which is something that you basically founded and took upon yourself. Man, the love for horses must be strong, Eddie.
Well, it's interesting. I'm probably a little bit of a hypocrite because I grew up in the city, so I've never had a field full of horses like Ray and everybody else have. So for me, when I got the chance to go to be around him, I really tried to capture that moment in time because I knew all winter I wouldn't see one. So that's probably where it started, following my grandpa and everything else. And also I'm a big fan of horse racing. So, but where it all started, Mike, was my brother. He has such a passion for the sport, just like I do. And we talk wagons all winter. We always have. And we were talking about lead teams. We talk about, oh, what a nice horse that is, or what an outfit that was. And he said nobody recognizes them. The only people that know these horses are us, the guys that are in the sport. Like Ray was just talking earlier about Luke's outfit. You know, everybody knows them.
Remember the names of the horses, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And just it just kind of dawned on us something needed to be done. And I've said this before. I was out at we ended up at Norm Cuthbertson's in the spring one year, and he had a plaque on the wall. And we were just going in actually to watch the Kentucky Derby. He had a plaque on the wall of his best first-year horse. And I think he had whoever was on for the most points or whatever. And I thought that was pretty neat. And I don't know, I think it just kind of hit me then, like, we got to do something. So me and Bill, I remember we were at Master's Restaurant in Calgary downtown chewing on this thing. And I said, we got to do something. So we come up with a format. And if you know anything about my brother, as you do, he's very detailed. He's very this. And I said, well, let's do it this way. No, we can't do it that way. And it was almost starting to tick me off a little bit. But we needed to do all that. So we came up with this format. And truthfully, it's held true right to this day. And that was 2005. And we're proud of it. And we were just hoping that it would catch on, with the drivers and stuff. First year, I'd go by on my little motorbike after the races and get the top 5 guys. And nobody really knew what I was doing till the banquet that year. And we did a video presentation and everything and did bios on the horses and everything. And I think that's really when it took life. And that's when people really wanted to win it. And, we've had so many unreal horses that have won that thing. We've had some that didn't win it. But for a guy like me, I get to learn everybody's horses. So when I see an outfit and I know who's on there, because I've been looking after this award, it's pretty cool. And you'd be surprised when a guy sells out. Like Ray, I think when you sold out, a few of your horses had won it. You had...
well, there's a halter right behind Ray.
Wheeler. Who was the Chestnut Wheeler? Caboose on the loose. You called him...
Oh, that was Chip. So he came from Grand Prix, sorry, yeah. Him and
Amershan won it 1 year.
Part of my career, I didn't have as many in there, but it's a good reference for guys when they are buying horses off somebody and they know that they've won this award. Those horses were hooked with 3 other good ones and were competitive and did well, right? So just like any other sport, you have a stat on something and it's an analytic that helps you purchase or a reason why you want to purchase. And, those horses are, everybody just knows them. They just, they're key horses, right?
You had him, you had Amersham won it. Tom, didn't you have Tom win it?
Yeah, Tom won it. I think Dan won it.
Abby won it 1 year.
Abby, yeah. I typically had more of the outriding horses. You see, everybody's right leader competes against each other. So if you're first in the right leader, section, then you get to pick that. And then, can you win multiple, or is it just you get one?
So the way we did it was, so we'd have 6 different winners every year, but you don't get to pick. So that we take the highest pointed horse.
Yeah.
On the outfit, not outriding horses. Those are done later, but so it might be your left wheeler. It could be whatever the highest. So he wins, and then you head to the other next highest pointed horse that isn't yours, kind of thing. And it might be the so-and-so's left leader. And so that's how it gets kind of picked. But I remember Dan, your horse Dan, that was one of the that was probably the prettiest horse that we ever took a picture of. Just the way he was standing. He was a gorgeous horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made a lot of miles. I have pictures with, I think, 7 or 8 different left leaders, and typically the results were all the same. You know, he had good tough runs, or you earned day monies or track records, and you know, it was those ones when they do retire and leave your herd and they slow down and you lose them from your string. It's pretty goddamn tough to replace. So
Yeah. But Mike, we've had horses. Jason Glass had one that runs 7th in the 1998 Kentucky Derby named Hanneman Highway. He was a gelding when he ran, so when his playing days were over, he needed a place to come.
Yeah.
And he was trained by a woman, Kathy Walsh, I believe her name is. But he lost second. He went second in a photo in the Arkansas Derby to a horse called Victory Gallop, who won the Belmont that year. So he was a pretty serious racehorse. And we also had Grant Prophet had one. Well, he had a lead team that finished 2nd and 3rd the same year, 2002, I believe, in the Queen's Plate. His name was Grandview Junction, I believe, and the other one's name's Prince. They called him Prince and Grandy. Kelly Sutherland ended up buying them both for big money at the Grant sale, but yeah,
I was the runner-up bidder on. I was trying to get the chestnut horse, which was
Grandy.
Prince, I think. Yeah.
Oh, Prince. Yes.
Yeah. I had a sponsor 3 days before profit sale give me $120,000 to spend at the sale, and I went to 96,000 on that Prince horse and never did get him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so on these horses come from anywhere, and then you take Aubrey Montewillo, just for another example. I think his horse won $700 or $800 on the racetrack. He was a little gray outriding horse, and he won 2 of them. And he was the best little outriding horse on the grounds for 10 years. Any kid that was starting got on that horse, and just like having your own big brother.
You know, it's something to really talk about when you hear about horses that, you know, had a great track record and they were competitive and won all these big races, but it's even more impressive when you get a horse that's a maiden or he's won $10,000-$15,000 and, you know, all of a sudden he finds a job that he likes, right? And finds that extra 2 gears that have been sitting in his engine house and gets to run as a team instead of trying to run out there by himself. So, you know, horses are herd animals, right? And yeah, sure, there are some that'll run and win every stake race by 20 lengths, but then there's a lot that they run second their whole life or third their whole life, and that to me, like, there's a wagon horse all day long, right? So
yeah,
those ones that come out of nowheres and they find a partner and find a buddy and they get to go compete for the next 10 years and perform and win these type of awards, and you know, they were really a horse that got cut from the track because they just weren't performing. So that's the real nice stories I like are the underdog stories, right? So,
and there's that's a good point. There's plenty of them, and so cool that I get to research these horses. You know, we had Aubrey's horse. John Walters had one that he capped here. He's won 3 of them. He won 1 at Calgary and 2 on the tour, and gray horse. Jesus, I'll think of it. Dancer is his name. And Tim Harrelson's dad brought him back from Vancouver, and the best he ever finished in 7 races was 7th. I mean, he couldn't outrun the pony horse, like on the track. And he's a right leader. And John just told me that he figured out he doesn't like to be confined. He doesn't like to be tied up a whole bunch. So he kept him out all day long and just tried to get to know the horse. And, you know, and he could outrun or run with anything in his barn. And, you know, I think the horsemanship of the wagon drivers and their help and just the care that goes into these horses. So here was a horse, he didn't have a future, and a lot of them don't. And the right guy gets a hold of him, a wagon guy, and, you know, that horse he's gonna die out in the field eating grass. And he was probably done at 3 years old.
Yeah. It's unbelievable, really. And that, you know, we talk about the stories enough, but they don't, you know, not enough people hear them, right? So hopefully this can reach out and people can kind of get to know these type of horses more and really spread the word on it, right?
Yeah, big time.
Who is, and I know this is going to put you on the spot, Eddie, because you're still that guy. Who is your favorite outriding horse of all time that you got to ride, and just anytime the driver said this is your horse, you just beamed?
Well, I'm not allowed. I can't pick just one, but
Okay.
I can maybe name probably 5 of them. Well, it's like asking who's your favorite kid, right? If you got a big family,
Exactly.
The most recent one is still going, a little horse. I think Ray got to ride him in Strathmore when he bailed off the fence at Chance Vegans, named Coco, a little black horse. He's awesome. Luke Turney had one named Spoiler that I was riding when we won the big show there. So that's another one. Jimmy Nevada had one that he got off Jeff Blatz. Jeff Blatz owned him, but his name was Antler Lake. I really liked him. For throwing stove, Neil Walzenbaugh had a little horse named Shorty that I really loved. The only thing with him is just before the horn goes, he'd bonk you in the back with his nose and just about fired me in the stove rack a couple times, but that's all right. Once the horn went, he was pretty damn good. And gosh, there's a whole bunch of others probably tied for 5th. I always had a good horse for Ray too. I like that little Amersham horse. I didn't get to ride him too much, but when I got on him when he was, I think, a first-year horse. He was only about a 4-year-old, I think. Just a young horse.
Well, that's because you keep getting fired.
15 hands.
What's
horse.
that?
He's black with a big stripe on his face and socks. And this horse tried to kick the front of the wagon off. So people, they don't understand why they become an out-riding horse is because typically they don't drive. So I bought him because of his race record. He come out of Winnipeg, and I actually turned down a big bay horse to buy that horse, which ended up, I got Doug Irvine to go buy this bay horse, and that turned out to be one of his best left leaders of his whole career. So he got a good horse. I got a good horse. And Amersham, he didn't want to be in the harness, so he got to be an outriding horse. And right from, I think we rode him 3 times, and then he was into a race and never looked back.
Yeah. Oh, and Lane McGilvery had one named Carib. Big chestnut horse that
was there any one horse that, as the group of outriders, I mean, you guys all share information like anyone, was there any 1 or 2 horses that you're riding for someone, you knew that horse was coming out and you just went, why me? Was there one that just kind of wasn't as fun to ride?
Well, I only got on him twice, but I actually did okay because I rode him behind on a 4-barrel.
That's all good.
But the one that got everybody talking was Brian Mann's horse named Ganador. I think he had a few notches on his bedpost, and he got just about every one of us at one point or another.
Yeah.
You remember that horse? He would end up, if you held leaders with him, he'd end up in the wheels every time. He turned harder than the right leader did. And I know Chad Fike rode him, Chad Cosgrave rode him. I mean, all the best guys rode him. And he was an eliminator. He would have been in the eliminator pen at the NFL.
Well, and coming from a guy that outrode and was a successful outrider, you think he was the first horse that was cut out of that team, right? So, what's funny though is Brian's a really good friend of mine. We're golfing here next Sunday, so if he sees this, he might kill me. But I've been helping Brian train all spring here. He's still got a bunch of wagon horses, so I've been out there since the spring. All summer we've been training horses. He's got some nice ones out there, but. That was one. I only got on him a couple times, but I knew to stay away too. I had one outriding horse, but Chance Vegan was just a kid when he first started. And anyways, his name was Irvin. We got him from Irvin Quinney, and he'd go up and then he'd crank really hard, right? So, and Chance was a pretty talented kid, and I didn't really let anybody else ride that horse because Chance had always rode for me, but he got a penalty for me once in Pinoca, and I give him shit. And Chance is my cousin, right, or our first cousin. So, anyways, it wasn't too far after I realized how tough that horse was, and And then it was probably about 8 years later where Vegan said, that's why I ended up being so good, is because I had to ride that horse. And that horse, he just turned so hard at the top. He was going whether you were on or not. So we like took it for granted how good he was, or maybe didn't know how good Chance was, and just made him ride this horse. And like that horse went probably 85% of the trips back in those days. And yeah, he was the only guy that really could get him covered. And I didn't know that till like 2 or 3 years later. So, but yeah, speaking as a driver, you don't realize, how tough or maybe how shitty one of your horses is until you give it to somebody else that doesn't complain, so.
No, that's it. Well, heck, this has been fun. I feel like we could sit and talk for hours, Eddie, because you are just a wealth of equine information, and we're gonna carry this on through the winter. So we're gonna have you back with us, and we're gonna have a bunch of fun with it. So,
all right,
you join us.
Yeah, we need to get Eddie back, and we got to talk Orville and talk some old school stuff.
Exactly. We haven't touched on half the stuff we wanted to, but we're gonna.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I look forward to it. This is probably one of our best podcasts for history and information, and just I like.
Well, it'd be fun because my grandpa run against Ray's grandpa for years, and they were good friends, and those old boys, they'll be sitting up there. They'll have a good seat, guaranteed.
Oh yeah.
They were the founders of the sport,
Yeah. How they made it down the road all those years, I have no idea. We got it pretty easy compared to those guys.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Eddie. Ray, always a pleasure. We're having a ton of fun with this, and we hope everyone gets a chance to catch up with us. And, do us a favor, friends. Drink responsibly, drive safe, give your kids a hug, and you know what? We'll see you next Tuesday.
One real quick thing, Ray, on the Spectator Guide, Billy's book there. Did you see the tribute to your grandpa in that?
I haven't, no.
Okay, we'll have to get you one shipped out then.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.